Thank you for your welcome this morning, and I would like to thank you all for the welcome and the warmth that I have felt from all of you over the last few days to welcome me into this Congress of the IFOTES. And it's been lovely to meet some old friends and make some new friends. I would also like to bring greetings to you from my colleagues at LifeLine International, which is a network of crisis lines, telephone services across 23 countries, including countries in Africa, countries in Asia, the Americas, and the Pacifica region, including Australia and Aotearoa, New Zealand, and also Northern Ireland. We bring greetings to you as colleagues in the work of providing support to people in their times of need and crisis. I would like to share with you and invite you to participate and support us in our work just commencing this week on a campaign for the decriminalise suicide worldwide. We have worked with the International Bar Association to undertake a review of countries around the world and have established that more than 50 countries have either laws that criminalise suicide or unsure and uncertain legal frameworks which leave ambiguity regarding the behaviours where people might express their wish to die, might attempt to end their life, or express their suicidality. What does that mean? Can you imagine the young man in an African country who was found stealing from a shop, taken by the police to the court, and while he is in the police process, attempts to end his life because of the shame he realises from his stealing? When presented to the court, the judge not only convicts him for the theft of goods from the shop, but also imposes a jail sentence for his attempt to end his life by suicide. The young man's life is complicated even further by the criminalisation of suicide. Can you also imagine the young woman in an Asian country dealing with an oppressive family situation and an abusive husband and finds little to keep living in her life, therefore attempts to end her life, only to discover she is caught by the police and dragged before the courts? A huge fine is imposed which she cannot afford, so her family has to pay the fine, and it creates financial hardship. The laws that criminalise suicide create even more detrimental effects for people in distress and despair. The intent of the laws may be to prevent suicide because all of us would wish to prevent needless and tragic death. But research published in the last couple of years looking at over 120 countries worldwide using sophisticated statistical analysis over 20 years has found that those countries that have laws that criminalise suicide are associated with higher suicide rates. The laws are not effective in preventing suicide. The laws create more despair and difficulty for those in distress. The laws target the same people that we are wanting to help through our telephone services and crisis support. The people in distress, the people struggling to cope with life, the people experiencing mental health conditions that create disarray and distress. So we working in the crisis lines want to see the laws removed. We want to decriminalise suicide. We are therefore commencing a global campaign to bring about change. And we want to, at the same time, encourage countries throughout the world, but especially those that have had laws in place criminalising suicide, to establish strong, accessible, high-quality crisis lines as an alternative to punishment. We want to make sure everyone in the world can access help when they need it, because we believe that suicide can be prevented. We will bring forward the global voices of support. Having looked at examples where laws have changed, we've identified several things associated with the successful campaigns for change. Change occurs by locally led initiatives with legislators. So we will work with legislators and lawyers and human rights groups. Civil society conversations, including crisis line organisations, but also social services. Leadership and expert opinion, including research work and evidence gathering, professional bodies. Building the engagement with people around a conversation of why the laws are ineffective and why there are alternatives to prevention of suicide. And international support. So we will bring together in the campaign those who are supporters of change with those who are actors for change within the countries. We know that each country has its own circumstance, its own context, and its own people. We want to support the countries in their work to bring about positive change by mobilising global support and providing information and resources. We want to care deeply because this is an issue that strikes at our hearts and the humanity that we all share. At the same time, we want to act meaningfully by providing facts and information and resources to support change. The campaign will be designed, therefore, to include the engagement of people throughout the world through an online community campaign. Communications through social media and other forms will be commencing, and you're invited to support that and share those communications with each other. A website will be established to coordinate and demonstrate the communication themes. At the same time, we will be activating coalitions of people in nations to bring about change in laws and support that through an online digital knowledge management platform. That will be a site where there are facts and figures, resources and guides, examples and case studies that people can use in their own countries to bring about change. And we will be advocating on the policy agendas worldwide, as we have already commenced to do. Encouragingly, the World Health Organization a month ago released a policy brief on the health aspects of decriminalization of suicide. The International Association for Suicide Prevention has released a policy and position statement advocating the decriminalization of suicide. So we will join with global partners in the policy advocacy to place pressure on countries to address this vital issue. We will do this with a visual or a brand that shows the importance of change through the bars that reflect the gradual removal of jail bars and prison cells as a solution to suicide. And we will draw on the colours of suicide prevention, the orange and the yellow, uniting all of us with a common desire that no one loses their life to suicide in the absence of support in their times of need. And we will work with organisations throughout the world, including we invite those of you in the IFOTES movement to support us individually through your posts and your local and country associations, and through your work internationally, as you feel you can. We are working with befrienders worldwide, the Samaritans, and the International Council of Helplines in the United States as well. We're also working with civil society leadership, including human rights organisations and the International Bar Association, and with those who are undertaking policy and research advocacy in suicide prevention. We have prioritised our work in Africa because there are several countries, including several that are members of LifeLine International, where there are laws criminalising suicide. So we will be working with the Centre for Disease Control on a continent-wide approach in Africa, and with the Commonwealth, because there are Commonwealth countries in Pacifica and other areas that remain having laws in place to criminalise suicide. So it is a global effort, and today I want to invite you, if you are willing, to help us to take an interest, to talk to others, to share the information and the case for change, and as an international movement of crisis lines, to work with LifeLine International and others in our advocacy for change. The image that we have used this week, the beautiful drawing, and I had the pleasure of meeting Anna the artist during the week, shows the winds of hope rising from the sea of turmoil, the human expression of beauty but also of pain. And that is why we are in the crisis lines or the telephone emergency services. We are there to encourage the voice to come forward so that the winds of hope can operate. And we believe that we can make a difference to individuals and communities and nations in making that offer of help and support. But at this time, very sadly, in more than 50 countries, there are people who are restricted from expressing their need for support in fear that if they do so, they may be punished or have action taken to them for breaking the law. We need to bring about that change so that everybody in every country can receive support in their time of distress and despair. Thank you.